39.
Number 1.
39.
1.
38.
37.
36.
35.
34.
33.
32.
31.
30.
29.
28. 27.
26.
25.
24.
23.
22.
21.
20.
19.
18.
17. 16.
15.
14.
13.
12.
11.
10.
9. 8.
7. 6. 5.
4.
3.
2.
1. It's time for mouthwash. Giddy up.
Good evening and welcome to the Mouthwash Talk Show, a minty fresh take on politics and the fastest growing show on the entire internet and maybe even in the world. We have a really action-packed show tonight. We have a lot of segments and we have a special guest that's a local artist here and lives in Speedway that has done some good work up in Elwood, Indiana. Unfortunately, Mark Joyner he's a pastor and owns a diner, and he's been called away for some pastoral duties tonight, and he's not going to be able to join us, but we do have Theodore Winters. He's a great guy. He's going to be a great guest, and we are waiting on Ed. Ed is late. His job is getting him behind the 8 ball a little bit to get on the show, but anything for the show, Ed will be here, maybe a little bit late, but we appreciate you joining us tonight. Like I said, this is an interesting situation that we've had here in Indiana. We've had a couple of officers that have been shot in the line of duty. One passed away, as Noah Chavez did up in Elwood, Indiana, and then we have another young lady out in Richmond, I believe, that has been shot, is in recovering. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about the mural that was painted on this building. But hey, without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and do a little shameless advertising here for our show coming up this Friday. For any of you true crime folks out there, this is going to be a good show. So I'm going to go ahead and play the preview, and you can tune in on Friday at 9 o'clock if you want to see this, and you can ask some questions, because I'll tell you, this one's going to be interesting. You'll want to tune in for this one if you want to learn more about this case. But hey, let me show you the preview. You can decide for yourself. And then we'll have Theodore Winters on the other side. All right, Mr. Winters, how are you tonight?
Hey, how's it going? How's it going, John?
It's going good. I'm a little disappointed Mark can't join us, but I was not, I didn't know how we were going to cram all this into one show, because it's a pretty detailed issue and situation, and I know he's busy, and you've done a great job handling this whole situation, and I was fortunate enough to be able to come up and see what you did this Sunday up in Elwood. But hey, for some of our viewers that may not know you, give us a little bit of your background and what you do and how you do it.
Sure, yeah. So I'm a pop artist, and I'm originally from Buffalo, New York. Moved to Indiana in about 2019, right before the pandemic. So I got to see a little bit of how Indiana was before it went upside down. I do murals around the community, around the state, pretty much around the world. I've lived all over the world, New York, Chicago, Europe, everywhere you can think of. So I've definitely been around the block, and I'm just living in Indiana, love the Hoosier life, and don't think I want to go anywhere else anytime soon.
Yeah. Well, most people that come from the East Coast, they got their eyes set on California. They just make it to Indiana. And, that's a long way to go. Or we have a lot of folks from Pennsylvania that come here and don't make it any farther either. So, hey, it's a great place to live. The weather sometimes could get a little iffy, but what they say is just wait around. It'll be different in another hour. So tell us about your project up in Elwood and how that turned into being a little bit bigger than you thought it might be.
So, there's so much of a story to this thing that it's just multi-layered. So basically in 2019, when I first got here, I had a gig similar to it, and it was up in Summitville, which is about like 20 minutes from there. And they wanted an American flag. They were running a classic car shop. Now, keep in mind, I'm from New York, so I'm not used to like small town Indiana and the way that everything goes. And I'm there, and literally the whole entire town, they don't have coffee shops, anything there. They're all drinking Mountain Dew in big gulps at the gas station. And that's kind of like their town square where everybody goes. So, that was kind of like my first introduction to Indiana. And, I do this big American flag mural there. And a guy named Mark Joyner, he lived up there. He's been trying to find me ever since. I ended up switching phone carriers and changed numbers. And he hasn't been able to find me since because the guy I did the work for doesn't have my contact information. So one day, a couple months ago, he's just scrolling Facebook, and he's not a social media guy. He's one of those in-person people that's just not on social media, is not about it. And I pop up in his suggested friends section. So he sends me a friend request, and I'm talking to him, and he's just talking to me about how he wants to do a mural similar to the one in Summitville, and he wants to do an American flag. He wanted to do something patriotic to just kind of bring people together and just have something that, is just big and bold and kind of advertises his business. So usually, when I do these projects, they're always a one-day thing. As an artist, it's very hard with time management, where if you kind of don't do something in a day, or you kind of don't throttle it the way you're supposed to, you're not making you're not making the right amount of income, for the amount of time you have into it. So I always try to get them done in a day. Well, I go to do this project for Mark, and basically the week before, and it's a God thing. There's no other way I can describe it. Everything just came together. It's insane. So basically the week before, I got the dates mixed up, and I literally load up my car at nighttime at 8 p.m. and I had to leave Indianapolis at 4 because it's an hour and 20-minute drive up to Elwood where the mural is. So I literally load up the car, and I'm all ready, and I call Mark and I said, "Hey, I'll see you tomorrow." He's like, "What are you talking about, Ted?" I'm like, "Tomorrow. We're doing the mural tomorrow. The weather looks good." "Ted, the mural's not until next week." So we literally had the dates mixed up on this whole thing. So, I ended up waiting a week, and I get into this kitchen renovation I'm doing. I'm like in the middle of that. And then, I go up and I go to do the mural, and it's Saturday morning. So everything that could go wrong goes wrong. The sprayer breaks that we're using. We had a 2,000 pound lift, like those big commercial ones. It literally, the parking gear somehow became unattached, and it rolled down the street, and it hit a light pole and almost clipped this guy's car. Then the guy that's supposed to show us how to do the lift and how to operate the lift wasn't even there. He wasn't picking up his phone. He didn't even show up till 3 p.m. So, and then to top it off, I'm allergic to bees. So there's a bee's nest at the very top of the wall, and bees are flying around all day, and I'm freaking out because I'm not trying to get stung. So everything that could have just went wrong, went wrong. And I'm just standing, I'm literally on the lift. They finally get the lift working, and I'm on the lift, and I'm literally banging a spray paint can against the lifts and screaming "why" at the sky. And it's just, I was frustrated. Well, the crazy thing about it is there ended up being a 2-hour traffic jam, and my wife was driving up to Elwood to pick me up. And there ended up being this huge traffic jam, and we ended up just like staying there way longer than we should have that night. And I'm standing there, and I'm looking at the mural, and I'm painting the mural, and then a police car rolls up. I walk up to the police car, and I tell the police car, "Hey, the police car literally rolls down the window, and the officer looks at me and he says, 'Hey, I really like the artwork. It's a nice mural.'" And I told him, "Hey, every time you drive by this mural, I want you guys to know that people my age, with all of the rhetoric out there, with all of the, anti-police rhetoric and everything going out there, that people my age still care about what you do. I said, thank you for your service and thank you for being a police officer. Well, I ended up talking to him for a couple minutes and, kind of everything. We're just talking about police and respect and community and all these different things. And I'm showing him the spray paint cans that I use with the little caps on them that I use to kind of do the murals. Well, this ends up going into, he ends up rolling the window back up and he drives away and gets back in his car. And we're basically talking and everything. The next day goes by and I come back out to do the mural, and all day long they're talking about how a police officer lost his life in the line of duty. Everybody in the community is talking about it. And Mark was actually showing a picture of the police officer to my wife, but I didn't see it because I was on a phone call. Well, when you're doing a mural like this, you try not to kind of like be affected by outside things that are going on, whether it's people talking or a community, or while I'm doing the mural, cops are driving by, they're flashing their lights. There's crackheads walking by, people on heroin just strung out, all sorts of crazy stuff. Well, I get home and the mural was done, completed the mural and everything. And, it was up in the air and bees are trying to sting me. And it was just a crazy, wild thing. And I'm looking at the news and, it shows his name and it shows a picture of him. And I'm like, oh my God, I was talking to Officer Shanavez. And it was him. It was him that I was talking to. I was talking to him. And it's absolutely crazy. And, I'm kind of the next couple days, I'm kind of seeing all of these people. We post the mural up in a couple of the community groups, and all of these people from the community are just kind of talking about the mural, and they're talking about the community and what a great time this mural could have gone up. And kind of the community was what really decided to dedicate the mural to him. Everyone was kind of saying, what a great tribute. Here you have this officer who's just full of life and full of valor. And he was just one of the good ones, one of the really good ones. He was just the best of what America has to offer. And you just have that. And, he unfortunately loses his life in the line of duty. But at the same time, you see all of the community coming together over this mural and over the flag. And they're kind of saying that a 400-foot flag was just raised in honor of him on this building. And it was just a beautiful thing that can come out of such a bad situation.
Yeah. And the service that was this Sunday, the memorial service and the dedication and all that. And he did a wonderful job on that. And it's definitely a delicate, it's a delicate dance to honor and to do all this without being too sensational. And I think you did a wonderful job with that. So that's the story. Now I'm going to go ahead and bring the panel on, and then you're going to be on the hot seat. So let's bring everybody on here. Let me get them around to where they're supposed to be going and all that. You're there. Tiffany's there. Okay. And this is Lucy Brenton. She's our libertarian. And Tiffany Dibbleson is our Ditlevson. Did I say it right, Tiffany?
Ooh, very nice. Yes.
Yeah, I've been practicing for like 82 shows. She's our Republican and our Democrat. He's late. But he says he's going to try to get here as quickly as he can. And they're going to have a few questions about this. And we're also going to talk about the flag and about the police. And we have some other clips here, the peeps on the streets. We got Mark Small Talk. And for those of you that want to know where the cats are, I got a little extra special segment for that as well. So we have a lot of stuff to talk about. So let's go ahead and do one round of questions, and then we'll go to something. And we even have Izzy Izzard, a little bit of light humor about flags coming up. And so we'll do that. But first, I want to get something out of the way. This is Lucy's husband, and this is the first thing he puts on every show. So I don't want to let him get too far down here. He's asking for a picture of the building, and I thought I had one. I was trying to find it there while you were talking, but I didn't have it. I had so much other things to do. So let's start out with Lucy. Lucy, how are you doing tonight? Uh-oh, I can't hear you, Lucy. Let's go to Tiffany. Tiffany.
Hey there.
Okay, yeah, Tiffany, go ahead. Wait, is Lucy on?
Just having my water tonight.
Lucy's got technical problems.
Here.
I thought I heard her talk before, so we'll get that together. Okay, Tiffany, go ahead. How are you doing tonight? We'll start with you and let Lucy figure out where her microphone's not working. Keep
I'm
her
doing
muted. There you go.
fantastic. Cheers, everybody. I'm having a little bit of water.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
It's good to be on the show. Theodore. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Lucy?
I think I'm here now. I
Yes,
figured
you
it
are.
out.
That's
It's a
much
very,
better.
very subtle mute switch on this. I'm sure my husband would love to have one of these.
I think Dorn pushed it.
Probably.
Here's what he said. Keep her muted. All right. Yeah. Good luck with that. I don't know if anybody is going to be able to get that done. So how are you? How is Southern Indiana doing this evening?
It is beautiful weather. Sadly, I forgot to water some of my veggies, so they're looking a little bit peaked. They're not too happy with me. But all in all, the best thing ever is not to be in the big city.
That's it. Well, hey, I'm in the big city. My chicken started laying eggs. We had eggs for dinner tonight, and they were really tasty. And I picked 2 Kroger bags full of tomatoes. So
Wow.
I know it. It's like I didn't know I was such a Red Gold's got me on the phone. Hey, come on, grow some tomatoes for us. So it is tomato season. Red Gold, yeah. There, I see the maters, big semi-loads of maters.
I got a question though. Are they gonna supply you with all of the chemicals that causes children's arms and legs not to grow when the pregnant women are working in the field? Just asking for a friend if they're still going to be doing it.
We do have a conspiracy theory.
Which ones stunt their growth?
Yeah. So okay, let's get on with the questions. With about this mural or whatever you might want to have about flag, about police, or whatever. So.
Sure. I have a quick question. I'll kick it off. Theodore, thank you so much for doing the mural. Thank you for the invitation. I did post it on my Facebook page. I was unable to attend. Can you just tell us a little bit about how the dedication went?
Yeah, so the dedication, it was just a beautiful thing. So many people from the community just came together. We had veterans there that served in wars, veterans that are active duty. Well, they wouldn't be active duty if they're veteran, but we've had military members that were active duty. We had police officers. The mayor of Elwood showed up. It was just a beautiful thing. So many people came together, and we had a formal ceremony where it was kicked off, and prayer, and we ended up at one point. I got the whole entire crowd to say the Pledge of Allegiance, and that was a powerful thing because it was from people from all different political angles. There were Republicans, Libertarians, Democrats, Communists, Socialists, far right people, and we got them all to literally put their hands on their hearts and say the pledge. And I think that that's kind of what America should be about.
Well, yeah, that was wonderful. Good. And I was there, and you forgot the veteran motorcycle gang that was there.
Yeah.
There was 100 people there at least, I would say.
Oh, yeah.
At least.
Yeah, the Veterans Riders Association, where they do rides for fallen veterans. That's just a beautiful organization. Flags for the Fallen, they sent a flag to Noah's family. He's actually a guy, he runs 5Ks with flags in honor of officers and veterans that have passed away, and he'll run a 5K, and they'll raise money for their families, and they'll send them the flag. So they actually sent a flag out for Noah, and we were able to present his family with the flag. It was a beautiful thing.
Oh, I have a question, Theodore, about timing. If everything had gone as scheduled, do you think you would have had a chance to meet Officer Chanovez if everything had gone as planned?
Absolutely not. Only because usually when a mural, and I've done murals bigger than this, and I've been out of there by 5 p.m. And I met him later in the night. So it definitely, I wouldn't have met him. And like I was saying, earlier in the show, that we actually had the dates mixed up, and we were going to end up doing it a week early, and everything just kind of happened the way that it did. And I wouldn't have met him if I would have finished the mural and everything would have went right. It kind of everything pushing it. It was fate. It was a fate thing, I feel like, for us to meet him.
Yeah. And how old was Noah? Was he like 24? Okay. And he was not married. I mean, for our viewers, he wasn't married, no kids, no, he just was a guy living out his dream of being a police
Army
officer.
veteran.
Yeah. Now, was he
what America has to offer?
Yeah. Now, was he an Army veteran?
Yeah, he was an Army veteran.
Okay, so he was like serving the country in more ways than one, and keep doing it here. So, okay, Lucy, go ahead. If you have a question.
Yeah, my question is actually more of a tangent on the idea of, I mean, you're an artist. That is exceptionally cool. Like, I'm not an artist. I always wanted to be one. So I'm always fascinated about the business side of art. and, making a living with art and things like that. So how did you, take the momentous decision to really leap out on faith and say, you know what, hourly job is not for me. My talent's worth more. How did that happen?
Oh man, that's a whole show in itself. I've done everything you can think of. Like I've done everything. Like, I was a New York City stockbroker. I sold data in Chicago. Like I've done literally everything you can think of. I literally worked in New York City when I moved there. I originally wanted to be a tattoo artist, and I moved to New York City when I was 18, and I ended up being a messenger for the Department of Health. And I was a foot messenger in New York City, and I was carrying all sorts of weird stuff around New York City, because in New York City rush, it's very hard to get like a bike or a car messenger to deliver a package, because sometimes it's easier and quicker to just do it on foot. So I used to literally deliver samples to the Department of Health, and I would have bags full of like viruses. Like one time I got on the train, I had the AIDS virus, mumps, measles, all in test tubes, and I had to deliver them to a lab. So I've had a crazy, I never stuck to one career. I tried everything, but my niche ended up being sales. And I'm not sure if you guys are familiar. There was a show called Mad Men, and it was on the TV. It was about advertising.
Yeah.
And I ended up doing that. I ended up being literally a modern day Donald Draper. And
That's awesome.
I worked for Gannett for USA Today. And I ended up being a literal modern day Donald Draper. And it just, I always kind of looked at everything else as a side quest until I could, basically get a way to get my art established. And when I was in Buffalo, New York, right before I moved to Indiana, my art career was at its height. I was all over the news. I was selling out. I had sold out shows. And then I just, under the government and everything there, I just really wanted out of New York. And I ended up coming to Indiana. So, coming to Indiana kind of got me back into having a normal job. And I finally, when it came to Gannett, it didn't work out. I ended up getting fired because I didn't want to get on a Zoom call with this guy named Bobby. He was doing Zoom training, and he was at home literally in his underwear with his cat. And he was yelling at me because, I didn't want to eat a bagel on Zoom. And I'm like, this is unprofessional. I'm not going to do this. And they fired me over it. And
is that when you were here? Is that when you moved here for that job?
Here, yeah. There was this guy named Bobby, and he was the trainer for Gannett. And he was on the Zoom call. He got up and he was literally in his underwear. And I'm like, this is unprofessional. I'm not doing this nonsense. And I walked away from it. Well, they ended up firing me for not complying to be on the video call with him. And I was mad. I went home. I didn't understand why. I lost my dream job. I really liked what I did. And, I just got to the point where I'm like, I'm not going to do this anymore. God made me to be an artist. I want to impact people. I want to do positive things, and I want to be an artist. And if the income, is not there and it takes a while to get there, I don't care. I'm going to do whatever I have to do it. And I've been very lucky to have a wonderful and supporting wife, John's met. And, she's just amazing, and she's really supported me and helped me and really held us down, before my art career to get to where it needed to be.
So where can folks go and see if I was a really good producer here, I would have pictures of yours, and I was meaning to do that, but I have a full-time job, and I do this on the part-time, and I'd make it up for it when the peeps on the streets. I'm going to go with that as my excuse. But where could folks go to see your art? Because it's really cool. It's like retro. It's like 50s comic strip art. It's really cool. In fact, I maybe want you to do some kind of picture for one of the shows or something.
Yeah.
Do a logo. We would love that. As you see behind me, I have Gary Varvel. He drew this one for us for our show. And he's just a friend of the show. He's been on a few times, and it just adds a little bit more to each show. So where can folks go to see that? Can see your show? I mean, I'll see your stuff.
So, I'm a different artist from a lot of different aspects of a lot of traditional artists will kind of go to the gallery scene, and they'll kind of stick in galleries, and they'll go with the whole community boards thing. And, to be an artist and to be actually successful, you have to do something that's going to make you stand out and kind of not be like the other artists. So when a lot of artists are kind of out there and they're doing these projects in the community, or they're in galleries, a lot of them, it's automatically assumed if you're an artist, you're a liberal. It's just, it is what it is. And me being an artist, I pride myself on being the Indiana American conservative artist. That's what I want. That's what I want my title to be. I'm conservative all the way, Republican, never going anywhere back to being a Democrat. Grew up in that. No, thank you. But, being that, you have to market your work different. So I've really focused on displaying my work on social media and kind of building a following around that type of scene of people that are like-minded. Because my artwork, it really represents America and the love and patriotism of America. You have to have people that really understand that type of artwork following you, to kind of really do it. So social media would definitely be the place to see it, at Theodore Winters on Instagram.
Oh, you said Instagram, yeah. And I tell you, your background in sales, a lot of people will buy art for the person. Not so, they like the art first. They catches their eye, but then they talk to the person. And that old struggling artist thing is it works. People, they buy art, and a lot of people that I know, a few folks who have more money than they know what to do with, and they support a lot of artists. So it is cool. So I would encourage everyone to go out and check out your Theodore Winters at Instagram. And he is our guest tonight. We're talking about the flag and police officers. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to do a back-to-back here. So I'm going to do the Izzy Izzard. This is Izzy Izzard. He's a cross-dressing British comedian, and he talks about flags. It's funny. This thing's a little bit funny. So we're going to play that, and then we're going to go right into the peeps on the streets.
Built up empires. We stole countries. That's how you build an empire. We stole countries with the cunning use of flags. Yeah. You just sail around the world and stick a flag in. I claim India for Britain. Nigger, you can't claim us. We live here. 500 million of us. Do you have a flag? We don't need a bloody flag. It's our country, you bastard. No flag, no country. You can't have one. That's the rules that I've just made up. And I'm backing it up with this gun that was lent from the National Rifle Association. That was it,
This is John Schmitz for the Mouthwash Talk Show, a minty fresh take on politics, and I'm up here in Elwood, Indiana, and we're at the Glass Festival. And yeah, this is a pretty cool festival they have here. So let's ask the peeps on the streets what they think about the police and the flag. Do you think there's a disconnect between the police and the communities that they serve?
No.
All right. Do you think we should defund the police?
No.
All right. As far as the flag goes, do you think our country is losing respect for the flag? You think some people are losing respect for the flag?
Yes, I do.
Do you think there's a disconnect between the police and the communities that they serve?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Do you think we should defund the police?
No.
No. Do you think that there are some people in our country that are losing respect for our flag?
At times, yes.
Do you think there's a disconnect between the police and the communities that they serve?
I think it depends on what community you live in, but in our community, I think there's no issues at all.
All right. Do you think we should defund the police?
No.
All right. Do you think that our country is losing some respect for the flag?
In my opinion, yes.
All right. And that's a wrap from Elwood, Indiana. And now part two of Peeps on the Streets. I'm down here at Belmont Beach in Hawville near Indianapolis. And we're going to see what the folks have to say about the questions down here. All right. Do you think there's a disconnect between the police and the communities that they serve?
Yes.
Do you think we should defund police?
No.
Do you think that there's a lack of respect for the flag somewhat in this country?
Yes.
All right. Do you think there's a disconnect between the police and the communities that they serve?
I do, sir, yes.
All right. Do you think we should defund the police?
That's a good question. I'm not 100% sure on that one right now.
All right. All right. Do you think in our country that there's a growing a number of people that may be disrespecting the flag?
When you say disrespecting the flag, what do you mean by that?
I mean, it's not really finding it's not patriotic or that it's, respectful that way. They feel like they're not included.
Okay. Well, I feel like this way. I was in the service for 14 years, and being a prior military service member, we fought for the rights of everybody. So we fought for that freedom of speech, that freedom for you to do, as you please, per se, in a sense. So I don't really feel like it's disrespect to it. Depends on what you're doing. Like if you're burning it, that's disrespectful. If you're kneeling because you feel like it's not holding up to the standards of what we came up to, I don't have a problem with that at all.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Coming on to you.
I'll say me. Yeah.
Don't give me those. Don't bat them eyes on the peeps on the streets. All right. Woo, girl. All right. Here's a question now. Okay. Do you think that the police are disconnected with the communities that they serve?
Yeah, most definitely. But I think it's on both parts. I think it's on the community, like the people that's within the community and the police. Like the people within the community, I feel that they don't really have any trust. Maybe, like a lot of trust is missing in the communities with the police. And sometimes the police can take their authority instead of like approaching with love. I think they take the authority and kind of use that more abusively.
Yeah, like a hammer.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Instead of kind of being like more, understanding because,
some stuff out here, aren't we?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Hey, do you think we should defund the police?
No.
No, okay, yeah.
I don't think we should defund the police. I really think that that's like a dumb man. I think some of the officers maybe need to be looked into more, like the police stations and, the departments and the different officers. Like if they have hella write-ups and, a lot of, things that you need to look into, like that officer, see what's really going on within their life. Because a lot of officers need counseling, if you ask me, and therapy and stuff. And so how can you deal with broken people out here if you broken yourself? So I don't think you should,
That's right. Well, these are like pop questions, and you're like coming up with like, grade A answers. The last question is, do you think that there's some people in the United States that maybe be disrespecting the flag? They don't have the same respect for the flag that, say, we did maybe 20, 30 years ago?
Well, I don't know. I'm really not with the flag. I don't know. I just think if we're looking at the flag as in well, I don't know how to answer that. I can't say
there's three answers.
There's a lot of flags, It's a lot of flags.
Well, and that's a wrap for Peeps on the Streets from Elwood and from Belmont Beach.
So there you go. That was pretty much two different perspectives of how things are. And so what do you think about that, Theodore? And sorry about the feedback, but for some reason, Tiffany's mic was open and it was coming back through. So I got it fixed about halfway through. Sorry about that on the Izzy Izzard.
It's crazy out of all shows that I'm the guest on this one because I've been on both sides of this. Now, I'm from the hood. Don't get it wrong. I'm from the hood. I grew up in Buffalo, New York in an all African-American neighborhood, and I'm from the hood. I'm invited to every barbecue when I go back home. I'm from the hood. When that Buffalo shooting happened not too long ago, that was my grocery store in my neighborhood, a block from my house where I grew up. So I'm from the hood. I understand both perspectives on this. I'm from the hood where I understand a disconnect, but then again, I've also worked my ass off to get out of the hood. So I understand both views to this. I can understand when some people feel like there's a disconnect from the police. I view it this way. There's bad people in every profession. There's bad firefighters. There's bad doctors that do unethical things. There's bad lawyers. I mean, corporate law, we could talk about that all night long. Some of those guys are the shadiest people you'll ever meet in your life. There's bad people in every profession. There's going to be bad police officers. I don't feel like those bad police officers that do the bad things that they've done represent every person in law enforcement. Same with doctors or lawyers. That doesn't mean that they represent the whole unit of every police officer is bad because there was one guy that did something bad. That's where I feel like the disconnect is. And at the end of the day, we don't need anarchy in the streets and defunding the police. That's absolute rubbish and nonsense.
Okay, so I'd like to just step up and speak for anarchy because I'm an anarchist. It simply means without rulers. And by the way, I'm a mom of 10 kids, so like anarchy rules at my house a lot. Anyway, it simply means without rulers. I don't believe that a group of people can get together and decide that they then get to rule over me. I don't care if they wear a special costume. Now, if they carry a gun, obviously, that makes it a little bit different because I may comply under threat of being harmed. But at the end of the day, the only person that I'm going to answer to is God. So the idea that people can get together, even though I'm a pretty big fan of the Constitution, the Magna Carta was, that was pretty awesome. But at the end of the day, it's just a whole bunch of people getting together and deciding what rules they're going to force you to live under. So do I want the police defunded? Yeah, I want them defunded to the point where they're not militarized. I want to go back to, if we have to have something, let's have peace officers. Let's have people who are focused on helping each other and not stealing from the taxpayers. Because if you traveled on the King's roads at 70 miles per hour instead of 65, now all of a sudden you owe us money, even though you hurt no one. And as far as the flag is concerned, my husband's Native American. Every time that flag was flying, his people are dying. And so my children don't stand for the pledge. We don't stand for the national anthem. We don't give respect to the very group of people that decided that we should be genocided.
Well, see, and that's an interesting take from another viewpoint. And, you could take that, we're supposed to have Mark, on tonight, and he's a pastor. And a lot of times when you start out a prayer as our Father, and you have someone that maybe have a bad relationship or may have had it with their father. So you want to be careful when you start out a prayer with our Father, because it's going to touch somebody in a different way. So yeah, these issues are definitely, the flag can be sensitive, and the disconnect between police officers can be, and and then you see these videos out of, I just saw one in Arkansas of 3 cops just beating the holy garbage out of this guy. And I'm like, what did he do? I mean, they're just like beating him, and it's on video. And I'm like, what good is this going to do for anybody? Do they think nobody's watching? Have they not seen cities burn for this? So I don't know. I don't know where we go from here on this. Tiffany, what do you got to say? You just listening, aren't you?
Taking it all in, because everybody has different experiences. I always call myself the brown American. My ancestors came here a long time ago on a cruise ship, bad accommodations, but we made it. My sister's done a lot of our genealogical tracing our roots, and my ancestors fought in the American Revolution, War of 1812. My first African-American ancestor to be counted was counted when he enlisted in the Union Army. So this is my country. I put my hand on the Bible, and I swore to protect and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And I took that oath freely without any reservation. And so that's what I'm here for. It kills me when I've been at athletic events and I've seen adults not stand for the national anthem. It kills me. I firmly believe that, this is the best country in the world to live in. And if you can't stand and acknowledge that, then you probably should really invest in moving. I think that, this is our country. If you are a legal citizen and if you can't find your way, we need to sit down and figure that out for you. But you need to feel like this is the place where you can manifest your dreams. I do not believe in defunding the police. I live in Fishers. We are the 5th safest place to live in the United States. Police Chief Gephardt, he came and spoke to our GOP club, and 5's not good enough for him. So he definitely wants Fishers to be safe. And it's funny, it's because it's like, it's not because we're safe because we're a suburb, because we border Marion County. We are safe because they are vigilant about protecting our communities and making sure that people from Marion County know that if they come to Hamilton County, if they come to Fishers to commit those crimes, we're going to prosecute them. You're going to go to jail. You're not going to be happy. You're not going to be comfortable. So we're working really hard to keep Fishers safe. I will run for city council on the next cycle. I was sitting at a city council meeting and the police chief was there, and he asked for new gun racks for their cars because the ones that they had bought previously were not safe. And it was easier for somebody to get into a car and take the shotguns off the rack. So what I thought was amazing, and this is from my military background, is that he had found $25,000 of the $50,000 for this project in his own budget. So he was asking city council for half of it. And I was like, wow, that is a commitment to public safety when your police chief can come to city council, ask for money, and be able to fund half of it with his current budget. I was like, I'm on board. I'm on board for safe communities. And what I loved about Peeps on the Street is that those people who live in Hallville different demographic, they were all solid about not defunding the police. That's respect for what they have to do and keeping our community safe.
Yeah, I wouldn't surprise about that. But go ahead, Theodore.
You know, something I really heard, and I really listened to what Lucy said about, her husband being Indigenous, and, Tiffany, about, your background. And something I wanted to say from another aspect, my mom's whole side of the family is American, and my grandfather, he's a World War II and Korean War vet. But on my dad's side, they're all European. My dad is German, and my grandfather's from Germany, and he was shoved into a concentration camp. And he literally had a gun put up to his head, and they said, join the SS or die. And when he was basically just the driver. He would drive around people in that, that horrible thing that they were doing to people. And the Americans stormed the base. They stormed the base where he was. And when they came in to storm the base, they were waving an American flag. That represented freedom. And when he would literally drive them around and everything, he ended up working for the Americans. They captured him, ended up driving him around. He wanted to be American, and he came to America to be an American. And he didn't come to America to have a different culture from anywhere else. He wanted to be an American. So for me personally, that's the flag that, represents me. And that's the flag that represents freedom, because, I understand it from Lucy's angle. But at the same point, what about some of the things that we've done to rescue people from other places that weren't as free as us? You have so many people that always say, well, if you don't like how America is, then move. My wife is from Europe. I lived in Europe. I've lived in both countries. And guess what? I came right back to America because I did not like what was going on in Europe. We're the greatest country in the world.
Theodore, to your point, my dad was active duty. We lived in Germany when I was a kid. I
lived in Germany, yeah.
Yeah, I was stationed in the Azores when I was active duty, and I did 6 months in Oman after 9/11, and almost, got raped and killed in Mexico while on vacation. But I will tell you that being in the you don't appreciate the United States until you travel outside of it. The rights that we have, the way that we're treated. I was even in London. I was in France, and we're trying to get on the plane, and you have to go through trying to get on the train, and you had to go through customs, and there's 2 lines: EU citizens and everybody else.
Yep.
The one for everybody else was a mile long, and he was looking at he was taking one person in the everybody else line for 10 EU citizens. And so until you're outside the United States and you realize that people don't care, you don't have rights, you have to wait your turn, you have to shut up, you just have to, you just have to wait your turn. And that puts everything in perspective for you. We have so many rights, so many opportunities here in the United States that it's just hard for me when people don't take advantage of them.
No, and I totally agree. Even from the angle of everyday Americans that constantly claim that we're oppressed, and they constantly claim racism, they constantly claim this, or that. Go to Europe. Europe is 100,000 times more racist than the United States will ever be. And you know what's messed up about Europe? It doesn't matter what your skin color is. They hate you from the country that you're from. They hated me there because I was an American. And even my grandfather, I had German heritage, and I had friends that were German, and they hated me because my grandfather was a traitor that went to America. They're on a whole different evolved level of racism, but we cry about racism every day here. It's a joke.
If it's from the country, though, to be fair, it's nationalism, and that's exactly the religiosity that I'm so frustrated with from our average citizen. If you don't like it, get out. If you don't want to stand for our flag, get out. As if I need to worship the false idol of a flag. There are people that are like this crazy, it might be Marjorie Taylor Greene, this GOP person that's like saying that she's a white Christian nationalist because she believes in the nation. And I'm like, honey, you don't even know the definition of the terms that you're using and what you're actually saying. So when it comes to, who is first, for me, it's God. It's not a country. It's not a flag. And speaking to, the idea of other countries and our freedoms here, I just like to point out that we are all oppressed by a cabal. That's what I like to call them. They're not elitists. They're the powers that used to be, because I'm not going to say that they're the powers that be. We are all oppressed by a supranational group of people who control the money system in every single country. So when we're like, yay, go America, I'm like, okay, well, where was the yay, go America in 1913 when Colonel Edwin House was busy conspiring with the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds, and they created the Federal Reserve Act? In 1913, it took 20 rectangles to equal a single ounce of gold. Last week, gold was $1,800 per ounce. It now takes 1,800 rectangles to equal 1 ounce of gold. So I'm not going to say rah, rah, America, when we're living under the same oppression as every other country. In fact, the oppression, the economic oppression, is institutionalized. People like me were shamed for standing up for our medical autonomy, for our bodily rights to say, no, I'm not getting injected with your $40 billion profit scheme. No matter what you say, no matter whether you threaten my job or you threaten my life, not doing it. And yep.
And that's that's why they call it a rat race. So okay, hold that thought. Hold that thought, Tiffany. We're going to do small talk because
I respect also you.
See, God intervened.
Yeah, I know. Hold on, Tiffany. We'll let you get your internet connection back. We're going to do small talk because that sort of covers a little bit what you're talking about with the flag and the respect.
Don't talk about my
Hi, this is Small Talk for August 23rd, 2022. I'm Mark Small. Political speech, political expression is the most highly protected speech that we have under the Constitution. The notion being that we really need to be able to express ourselves when it comes to political beliefs. Nothing could be more central to the image of the United States than the United States flag. That's why in two cases in the late 1980s, 1989 and 1990, the United States Supreme Court said that's protected political expression to burn the flag. It was in Texas versus Johnson, and then in United States versus Eichmann. In both of those cases, flag burning was protected speech, it was determined. Justice Scalia voted with the majority in both of those cases for you conservatives out there. But let's look at it this way. What is the flag? It's a symbol. It's a piece of cloth or nylon, and it represents something, in part freedom. Now, if you say people died for that flag, well, people also died for freedom, and a lot of people view the flag as representing things that aren't so good about the country. So what do you look upon as being things you can't touch in speech? Let's see. Well, what about religious things? I know that there were yahoos down in Florida who did some bad things to the Koran a few years ago. That was deemed to be legal speech, legal expression. What about if they had a punt, pass, and kick competition with the Holy Bible? Would you sit there and say, well, now, wait a minute, that's blasphemy. That's protected speech. So when somebody says this is a free country, guess what? That means being able to take an emblem such as the American flag and burning it to make an expressive point. You might find it repugnant. Those same people might find embracing the flag and hugging it by a degenerate former president at the time, as being disgusting. My name's Mark Small. This is Small Talk, August 23rd, 2022. Peace, love, happiness, all that good stuff.
I mean, where else could you go and find where else could you go and find a variety of opinions like Mouthwash? I mean, that is.
I got a question. Did Cheeto Jesus actually like wrap himself in the flag and embrace it? Is that what he's referring to?
Picture of him, Cheeto Jesus. I think there's a picture of him hugging the flag. So we do have. Hold on, Theodore. We're gonna go do this first because I want we have Mark on here because to spark some things. So here's Dorn's comment. Where's the damn cat? And then we have, some other things. Oh, this, it doesn't have the cat anymore. Taco Tuesdays, that's not real cool. But hold on. I got a little special extra segment tonight for you. So let's have a look-see here.
This is my buddy, Cade. I got him up here on my lap, and he thought that I was going to use the little red dot thing, the laser pointer, and play with him. And I fooled him on that. He's not going to be very happy there. And this wonderful fellow is Cheech. Say hi, Cheech. How are you? And it's not as in Cheech and Chong. It's from a syllable of Latin name for cicadas.
Okay, so and the other cat was behind him on the floor, so don't think that he ate one and kept two for later, like something else. So there you go. So back to the comments about the flag. So like I said, we have some stuff on here that'll spark some talk. So Theodore, I see something there. What do you say?
For starters, he's running in my district as a Republican. So I'm not even going to get into all of that because I never wanted to be a politician, but I promise you I'm going to end up going after him in the next election cycle, if that's the viewpoint he has. Anyway, we're going to throw that completely out the window. We live in a time, and this is the most important thing out of all this, because the flag that I did represented community, and it represented everybody. And this is my main point, if we could take anything away from the show. We live in a time where LGBTQ has a flag. Now we're adding the Ukraine flag to that. We have a Black Lives Matter flag. We have the bisexual flag. We have pansexual. We have all these different things that represent everybody else. The American flag is the only flag that represents every single group flag. It represents each and every one of us. That's why it's a blanket flag. That's why the flag, it shouldn't be a political thing. And that's the thing. We've gotten to a point where we've polarized each other to the point where we just lump people into categories based on how they identify or based on this or based on that, right? Well, up in Elwood, I saw it. It was just, being from New York, I remember September 11th. And right after September 11th, we all came together and we were all waving American flags.
For about 1 week. And then it was back to normal. So
yeah, it was powerful. But what I'm trying to say is in Elwood, I saw the community come together, people that were from all different angles come together over the powerful symbol of the flag, and it represents all of us.
Yeah, I can see it. And then you can see if you're a Native American or you lived here and that flag is of oppression. So, and you could see that if you were a person that, feels like they don't belong. I think I think some people feel like that. They say, I don't fit in here.
And I'm a product of the public schools as well. We are groomed from a very young age to stand up and to pledge allegiance and to say words that children don't have any clue what they're saying. My fourth grader came home today and we talked about, she said, they want me to pledge allegiance to the flag. And so we talked about that her right is to do it if she would rather fit in, or she doesn't have to do it. And if mom needs to come to the school, that's cool. But, we're already pretty well known at the school for those sorts of things. It's important that children know that they can refuse the demands of an adult. And I've taught my children, as my husband is on board with this, of you respect authority. You don't blindly follow authority, and you certainly can say no to authority. I never wanted my kids to be one of the ones that was, assaulted in any way because they didn't know that they could say no. So we taught our children, you can say no, even if it's to me.
Well, you got 10 of them, so it better work out. So, that's how it goes. So Tiffany's got 1, I got 4, you got 10. And
bunch of underachievers.
I know my kids are, I don't. They say no a lot to everything, working and those type of things. They're good at that. So, but that's part of the deal here is, are we going to be united? And it's almost like, I remember 9/11 too. It's like planes didn't fly for 4 or 5 days, and you really didn't notice that they, until they were gone, you didn't notice that there wasn't planes in the sky. There was none of that little white stream, the little noise that you just sort of block out. And it just was an interesting time of unity. But as I say, in about a week or two, it sort of started wearing off and we were back to hating each other. And then here we are now 20 years later. And it seems like, a lot of people that don't like each other on both sides. And I think we've had some leadership that's probably sparked that on both sides. But I guess the question that I'm going to ask everybody is, how do we get people back together? I mean, obviously a fallen officer in a small community was able, one of the silver linings was that you brought a community together, but we still have a fallen officer, a young man that was, his life was cut way, way short. That was what it sounds like was a very good servant of the country and his community and people that we need. We need more people. We need more heroes. So how do we do that? How do we get people back together on the same page?
Who's going first?
It doesn't matter.
Well, psychological manipulation, all you do is bring up a common enemy that everybody can rail against. Unfortunately,
I nominate Bill Gates. I nominate Bill Gates.
Yeah, that would exactly Bill Gates in hell. But if you want to do the psychological manipulation, that's what you do is you get something that everybody hates, just like 1984, the 2-minute hate, and you can unite people that way. Sometimes you can unite people under a common good cause. I like to put forth the hashtag taxation is theft. That's unfortunately there are a lot of people that are suffering from Stockholm syndrome that think that taxation isn't theft. But that's all I got for you. The Don Drapers of the world, they're the ones that are going to figure out through Edward Bernays the psychological techniques of how do we manipulate people to buy whatever ideology we want to shove at them.
Yeah. Okay, Theodore. What do you have for this? Because it's a tough question. I mean, it is. If it was easy, we'd be doing it.
Well, I mean, I've seen that we can come together. I mean, my overall message is America, we're better than this. We're better than sitting here and arguing about it. We're better than this. We can come together. I've seen it happen. I think that the true secret to unity is we stop prioritizing other groups of Americans over other groups of Americans. We stop dividing it. Instead of viewing someone as African American, you're American. I view everybody here, we're all American. I don't like the subcategories. I don't like the division that's out there. And I feel like Morgan Freeman actually said it the best. If you really want to end racism, stop calling me an African American and call me an American.
Yeah, I agree. And, you could see that. I mean, when I was at Belmont Beach, I actually did stand up there. They have like a little comedy night, some rappers and whatnot. I went to watch, but the last time I was there, I'm like, I did okay. But they wanted me to do it again. So I did it again. And you can sense the us against them. It wasn't against me. They were perfectly nice and friendly to me. I know a lot of the folks there, but you can sort of sense that, it's exclusion. It's not inclusion. I'm not in that circle of people. And, and they probably would feel the same way if they were the only Black person at a white event. They wouldn't feel that inclusive with things. And I just think that division is there. And and it's sort of like cats and dogs, it's just there. How do we overcome it?
It's there because we let it be there.
Yeah.
Growing up in an all African-American neighborhood, one of my neighbors was the biggest drug dealer in the entire city. And you know what he liked to do? He liked to go boating and listen to AC/DC and barbecue in his backyard. I hung out with him. We went boating. We listened to AC/DC. It's that being able to put those constructs that are just put there by the government, by the press, by the people, those constructs of race, those constructs of all of that aside and say, hey, you're my friend, you're my neighbor. None of that other stuff matters. Like, sorry, I'm New York, so I curse.
Yeah. Hey, you didn't curse during the ceremony. I know that was a big thing for you. Well, I mean, Dave Chappelle is a comedian that is somebody, if you want, I mean, his stuff is very, controversial, but I'll get to you real quick, Tiffany, but I was talking to a Black person after a meeting last week, and they talked about, they got their house appraised and then they got it reappraised, but they had their white friend come over and it reappraised higher when the white friend came over. So, and I've also been around a Black person that got pulled over by the police and they were physically shaken from the experience. And I was like, it's just, there is that sense of I'm not being treated fairly. So Tiffany, go ahead. Maybe you have something to add to that.
Oh, damn. I was listening, blah, blah.
Did I throw you off guard there with that question?
You did. You started talking about Black people, and I was like, "Oh my God, where's he going?"
Well, you're our Black person on the show, so I have to go to you. I can't. Lucy's whiter than white.
One of the things I always do is whenever people want to talk about race, I always tell them that the Black community, the white community, we're not monoliths. And then if you want to talk about something, talk about demographics of people, because you get to a better point, better conversation, and you can draw similarities a lot better when you talk about demographics of people. You can't lump people in based on the color of their skin.
It does. It does vary. It varies of attitudes. I've played basketball where I've been the only white guy playing before, and be embraced by most people. But some people just, when we talk about racism, it's on both sides. You can't say that it isn't. But it just seems like
it's a level of comfort. I mean, I can go to the Hawthorns Country Club, and people might not be comfortable because they don't know me and I'm not a member. But I am the only, no, I'm not the only, there are very few brown people that go to my Catholic church. I don't feel odd there. I'm Catholic. I belong there. So, I don't think that brown people necessarily feel uncomfortable when we go places, because that's the America we live in. It's not, brown people don't often get to be in large groups of brown people everywhere that they go. I mean, especially in the professional world, it's not like that. So I think that you'd be very surprised at how inclusive brown people can be. And the point that I always try to make, and it's very similar to what Theodore was saying, especially here in the suburbs, is if we want to make this world a better place, it's about who's at your fire pit and who you're drinking beer with. If you don't have a diverse set of friends, we're never going to get anywhere. You just aren't. Because you can go to work and you can be around people and you can go certain places and you're around people, but until you're very intentional in your personal life about having a diverse set of friends that you spend your leisure time with, nothing's ever going to change. So that's most important.
Yeah, I don't know how we got down this rabbit hole on this, but it is, that's part of our social economic status is a divisive spot. Some the color of our skin can be a divisive issue, and I think we need to find more ways to come together. So with that being said,
one second, time out. Here in Fishers, it is very divided community. Like if you look at our school board issues, Hamilton County, Fishers, I think we're maybe 11% African American, and then maybe 6% Latino. So mainly kind of a white community. But when it comes to school board issues, critical race theory, social emotional learning, what they're teaching kids in school, we are pretty much a community mainly of white people who are split. I mean, like it's the liberals against the conservatives. It's the Hatfields versus the McCoys. It's, we're going to run our candidates. No, we're going to run our candidates. And so people can be divided over many different things. It is just not the color of our skin. And that's the easy thing, because you can assume that we don't like each other because of the color of our skin. But when we truly get together and you're like, wow, I don't think like you do. You're a threat. You're a lunatic. That's not what I'm about. And one of the things that's interesting is that, like, when I look at the school board issues, you have two groups of people who think that they have the right answer to educating their kids. And so they are very passionate and very motivated to have their ideas come to fruition. And they're very, very divided. And one side can't see the other side's issue or objection or passion or motivations. And so you can have great division among people of the same color. White people respond.
Why not? Go ahead, Theodore.
Well, I think it's also not only the demographics. Do we get lost in the demographics, and we're trained to think about these demographics, right? We're trained to think that most African Americans will vote Democratic or vote liberal. New York is very like that, right? I have my neighbor across the street is African American where I live now, and I'm thinking, oh man, he's going to be a liberal. I go and I talk to him. This guy's talking about how 5G is giving people cancer and how he loves Donald Trump. We're brainwashed. We're literally brainwashed, and we need to snap out of it. Stop looking at people because of the color of their skin, their sexual orientation. And the main thing that we need to do is stop prioritizing a group over another, right? So if you have, let's say, Starbucks, you can't go to a single Starbucks in Indiana without seeing the LGBTQ flag. Awesome, amazing. LGBTQ people should have rights. Everybody should have rights in the United States of America. It's a free country, right? But if they're triggered by the American flag, what if I feel uncomfortable when I go there? Because I see that flag and I don't agree with it. It goes against my religious beliefs. At that point, we're prioritizing another group of people over another group of people. It shouldn't be either way. It should be equality for everybody.
Yeah, I agree. And that's sort of funny you brought that up, because somehow my emoji, when I answer on my Instagram or whatever, my messenger, is the rainbow flag, and I put that. It used to be like a little smiley face with sunglasses, and somehow they got changed. So somebody's gonna have to help me fix that. So he said something like a thumbs up or whatever. You send a thumbs up back. It sent the rainbow flag, and he sent that back. And he's like, "What?" I'm like, I don't know how that got on there, but it was sort of funny. The rainbow didn't stand for the God's not going to God going to destroy the earth again after the great flood of Noah. They had the rainbow. So if you ask my wife, that's what she'd say. But wow, this has been as I said at the start of the show, you'd be a great guest, and you've been a great guest.
Can I say one last thing?
Yeah, sure.
Because I'm reading the comments of calm down, Tourette syndrome, all this stuff that people are saying. You guys are from the Midwest. You're not used to East Coast energy, baby.
I think they're talking about Mark Small. They're talking about Mark Small's segment. So
I didn't know because it said calm down. I'm like, whoa, slow down. I'm like, no, we just talk very fast and we curse a lot on the East Coast.
At least you're not from Jersey.
Yeah, God, no, I'm not from Jersey.
Our viewers have a love-hate relationship with Mark Small. They disagree with about everything he says, but they sure want to listen. So that was during when his segment was going on there. Just calm down and all that. So that was not directed towards you, but I'm sure we could get some people that would do that, because we do have a good variety of folks that watch the show and watch the show later. Now we're going to the segment. Let me make sure I got all of our segments done, because sometimes I'll forget something.
We don't have the conspiracy one, right?
We got it all. Now we have the conspiracy theory, and then if you're going to do that, you'll get off the hot seat here, and I'll play the preview, and that's when we get our tinfoil hats on, and then we'll come back. And I have one that's going to be pretty interesting, so I'm going to play the preview. So go ahead, get your tinfoil hats. I got to find mine real fast. So here's the preview. Oh, I forgot to warn you about this, Theodore. It's a little goofy. Hey, y'all, it's time for the conspiracy theory, so you better get your tinfoil hat out, and let's see what's going on this week. All right, let's get Lucy up here, and the guys and the girls. It's like it's Foursquare here and all that. So here we go. We have some conspiracy theory. Let me put up the banner, because I don't want to be sued because of
Thank you, Robert.
Disclaimers here. So let's see what we have going on in the chats here. So there you go. Yeah, you got some fans, Tiffany. They're wondering where your wine is tonight, by the way.
I had some earlier. I was at HC Tavern having some berry cobbler. My teeth are purple. And I had some Merlot with it, so I'm drinking water now because I've already had my drink.
Yeah, you already had your quota of wine. So we're going to start with Lucy tonight, because I'm sure it's probably got something to do with some kind of health thing that Bill Gates is doing with some farmland. I don't know.
Yeah, well, farmland, land out in the boonies definitely figures in. And I'm loving these huge headphones and how I don't know, I feel like I'm in a racing car game.
Yeah,
with these headphones on. So I cannot prove that Bill Gates had anything to do with this, but I'm certain that had he had the chance to have something to do with, he would have definitely cheered it on, probably cheered it on. And what I'd like to bring up is that every law is enforced at the point of a gun. Every law can mean death. And this is the conspiracy of, should we defund the police? People have been killed for selling loose cigarettes because the cigarettes were not taxed. Every law is enforced at the point of the gun up and into death. Yesterday was the 30th anniversary of Ruby Ridge, where Randy Weaver was seized. The U.S. Marshals came to his land, his 20 acres, where he was living peacefully away from society with his family. The U.S. Marshals first shot his 14-year-old son, and they murdered his 14-year-old son. They murdered his dog. They murdered his wife while she was holding their 8 or 10-month-old infant at the time. They shot a family friend. Every law is enforced at the point of the gun. And like I said, if Bill Gates could have been in on it, I'm sure Bill Gates of hell would have been in on it. But what I'd like to remember is that there are people in the community who have fought for our freedom, and instead they were murdered by the government.
Yep, and then Dorn wants to add to that. It was on a bogus warrant too. Yeah. Well, you think about the David Koresh and how they escalated that up to a DEFCON 5, and it
The
probably was.
first person killed at the Waco siege was actually a nursing mother on the second floor. She was shot from somebody in a helicopter, shot down, and she was the first person that died.
You just wonder if they just would have left them alone, what would have happened. So yeah.
David
yeah, well,
Koresh jogged every single day outside the compound. They could have arrested him anytime they wanted to, but Janet Reno and the government, you see, when you rule by force, the way that you ensure compliance is to make examples out of people and simply to kill them, to make the threat of standing up against your oppressors so incredibly painful to the point of death that instead you censor yourselves. How many people, me included, I'm guilty of this as well, start to make a comment on the internet. I'm like, don't really want to do that because I know that I'm going to be attacked. And knowing that you're going to be attacked by public relations bots, literally AI, has been created to censor you to the point where you feel so oppressed and negative emotions that you then begin to censor yourselves. And of course, Bill Gates of hell, it's his algorithms that do this.
Yeah. He started this whole thing by inventing that, Windows or whatever, what it is and all that. So
yeah, he stole it. He stole it. His mom, he stole it. Just so you know, he didn't actually do that. He stole it.
He did. Well, we look forward to another Bill Gates story soon. I mean, I keep thinking you're going to run out of them after 60 or so episodes. you never disappoint with something on that. So Tiffany, what do you have? You've been out drinking the wine at the thing. You probably didn't have time to think of a conspiracy or anything, did you? You got purple teeth. That's a big takeaway.
No, I just really appreciate. I know, right? They are purple. I like it. I appreciate what Lucy has to say. But I go back to the one girl who's batting her eyelashes with you on Peeps on the Street. It seems like every now and then there's always a flirt. But I loved what she said. There's good cops and there's bad cops, and you can't throw them all out together. And we just got to find ways to come together. And I think maybe the biggest conspiracy theory is that Americans hate each other, and that Black people and white people can't get along, and gays hate straight people. And that's one of the biggest conspiracy theories, because I tell you what, here in Fisher Joe's at 116th Street and Brook School Road, they have karaoke on Saturday night. And to me, that is the best portrait of America. I mean, brown people, white people, old people, young people. And it is just so refreshing to see so many people coming together, having a good time, drinking a beer. And then to me, that serves my heart well, when I can see people come together like that and have a good time. I wish that it was the norm.
That's the Hoosier hospitality, and we have a lot of people coming in from like Buffalo, New York, and whatnot that are trying, but Theodore's not one of the bad guys in this situation. But we do have some folks that come here that, if you go to the East Coast, I've been to the East Coast, nobody really looks you in the eye, nobody smiles, nobody says hi. I'm like Crocodile Dundee when I go out there. Hey, how you doing? What's up? Hey, so it's a different kind of thing. So Theodore, coming together like the folks in Elwood came together, you could sense, it was somber, but there was unity. And in fact, Mark talked about unity in the community and all that. So, it's there. We just got to dig a little bit. I think we got to dig a little bit, and we got to, show a little bit more mercy to our fellow mankind, and a lot more grace. And let's have some fun. Let's go sing karaoke, drink some beers. So Theodore, do you have a conspiracy theory that you'd like to toss out into the arena?
I'm far right. That's what we do. That's what we do in the far right.
No, right, well, bring it.
I have a really good one. Social media is literally meant to make us stupid. Because if you think about it, right, if you look, and being in the data industry, it's something I realized a long time ago before this became a conspiracy theory. If you look at TikTok, for example, in China, in the actual country that it's from, they prioritize content based on being an engineer or something that's more learning equivalent. So in their algorithms for their feed, the more things you do that are educational, the higher they get up in the algorithms. Now you switch it to America, the higher and the dumber the stuff you do with prank videos or going in stores and making fun of people and dancing with your dog. For America, it's that. Why is that? It's literally made to just dumb us down. And that's the conspiracy, but in a way, it's kind of not a conspiracy, I guess.
It's not. Well, you'll fit right in with Lucy. Now on TikTok, I don't know if anybody else watches the Coin Pusher. There's one on there that's a coin pusher. You got to watch this. I can watch this for hours. It's like a $90,000 buy-in, and they put the quarters in there, and it's that thing that pushes the quarters over, and then it pushes towers and big chips and coins and all that. And the dude on there is hilarious because he is just so into it. I can watch that for hours. And that fishing and Texas Hold'em hands and stuff, that's the best stuff on there. And you can actually learn some good golf shots on there because that one guy, Phil Mickelson's on there, and he's a heck of a good teacher. But anyway, I digress on that. But I think you're right. The TikTok.
The comments. Does Theodore root for the Bills? Absolutely. Bills Mafia all day long. I'm still having a hard time becoming a Colts fan.
Yeah. So, well, hey, the Colts. I think the Colts are going to be good this year.
I love his
on a limb. It's not going to be my conspiracy. So I'm going to wind this show up with
That's a conspiracy theory.
My antenna's down. Okay, this conspiracy theory is about CNN. If anybody's paying attention to CNN right now, it's like a fire sale there. There's like firing people like it's like, what are we going to do today? Fire, have lunch, fire. They're going to, well, that's leaving some openings. And, they're looking to move more. Yeah, they're leaving some openings for shows. So, they're looking for maybe to move more to the center. If you had a good center show on there, sort of like Mouthwash, you could like get half of Fox audience. You could bring back what's left of CNN audience. Maybe you can get some of them NBC audience to watch the Mouthwash show on there. So I'm in talks with the CNN executives, and which is now Warner Discovery something is the name of the company that bought that. So I don't know.
You're right though, because a month and a half ago, and it's on public record, the CEO of CNN.
Are they talking?
What was that? I missed all that. Theodore, you start. Then Tiffany, you go.
I said you're right though, because a month ago, the CEO of CNN went on public record in a company address and said that they're no longer allowed to call Trump's election claims the big lie. And then they started firing people directly after this. You can look into it. It's a real thing that happened.
Okay, yeah. Well, like I said, they've gotten rid of a lot of them, and I think the only one left is Don Lemon, and they're probably waiting till tomorrow to get him or whatever. But I'll be interested to see. But Ted Turner, when CNN came out in the early '80s, I believe, didn't it? And it used to be like real news. I mean, they would, and Tiffany, they don't know about I've just made up. So Theodore's playing CNN right now. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see. Maybe the Mouthwash Talk Show will be on CNN in the new lineup. So that'll be good. So that let's get that stinking banner off of there. There you go. Oh. And
my eye rolls for Don Lemon.
Go ahead, Tiffany.
I said my eye rolls for Don Lemon. He's annoying. That's all.
There's nothing like condescending people talking to you like you're stupid, like you're on TikTok. So that's good. They need lemonade. That's a good one, Spiro. We're going to end the show on that one. Theodore, we do appreciate you coming on, and your work is awesome. And if anybody needs a mural painted, that's your guy. It may take him 2 days, and and hopefully the other murals you paint go a little smoother than lions and tigers and bears. But we all know that was for a reason, and it was a pretty decent reason. And I think it was a beautiful thing that you did. You did a great job with that ceremony. I know you put a lot of heart and soul into your art. So go check out his stuff on Instagram, and hey, he'll sell you a picture, and no problem with that, do you, Theodore?
Yeah, no, I'm just happy. I'm just happy we were able to bring people together. And at the end of the day, that's the main thing I want to say. America, we're better than this. Let's come together and let's stop the division.
That's a good one to end on. And thanks, viewers, for watching. We love your comments. Yeah, and
we are the children.
That is right.
We are the ones who make a brighter day. So let's start giving.
All right,
There's a choice.
That's right. We are the world. We are the world. All right, everybody. We'll catch you next week. I do believe we're going to have Andrew Horning on. If he's not mad at us for bumping him for the people. Oh, by the way, and it was Rudy Yakman or something that won up there, I think on the first vote. And I think our friend Curtis Hill got second.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but it went on the first vote. But I don't. That's just sort of what I heard. I didn't have a chance to really look at it too hard. Been busy with other things. So anyway, everybody give the peace out. We're going to do the ending here, and stick around after Theodore. We want to thank you for being on the show and wind this thing up. And
sorry,
all right,
see you. Small.
Sorry, all right.
Unity.